The coffee would be good if you've got some. Hello there. Welcome back. So that was an interesting lesson. Hi there, Sandeep. Hope that you can fix your sound though, Sandeep, because there was a problem in the last conference just now, in the last lesson. So let's see how your sound goes now. So we were looking at verbs following verbs, and we mentioned modal auxiliaries, can, could, would, should, and they are always followed by verbs in the infinitive without to. So this is a kind of continuation, but different, because now we're looking at functions. That means doing things with our language. A function is something you do. So, for example, the function of a washing machine is to wash your clothes. That's a function. So functional English means we concentrate on what that English is doing. Requesting or suggesting or this kind of thing. And the modal auxiliaries may be used a lot in all of this. So let's first of all think about the things we might want to do. What kind of problems in communication might we have? What functions are there? So I mentioned some. I'll mention one more again. One function would be suggesting. I will use a gerund noun, suggesting, or suggesting. That's a function. So can you give me some more functions? Functions, suggesting, what else have we got? I think, any more? Hello, welcome back everybody. Hi Francisco, welcome back.
Hi.
Have you back. Carlos, hi.
Hello.
So we'll start off then thinking about all of the different kinds of functions we might need to build our vocabulary around. And then we will find some nice phrases to learn for each. Sometimes you need 2 or 3 phrases because sometimes we have a formal situation at work and sometimes an informal situation in a cafe or a bar or something like that, or at home. So if I suggest something to my boss, I might not use the same language as suggesting to my friend. If I want to suggest to my friend that we turn the TV over to another channel, what would I say to him? How would I suggest to my friend watching TV that I want to turn channels over? Change the channel.
Can you please change the channel?
That might be asking him to do it. Suppose I just wanted to suggest that I do it. How would I say that? Can I change the channel? Yes. So the word "can" is a very useful word. Can is like a kind of wild card, a joker word. Can be very useful. Some informal English, very formal English, sometimes "can" is a bit more restricted, but in common everyday language, can be used for so many things. It can be used for asking for permission. So, can I go now? Is asking permission to go. More formally, you may choose not to use can. And if you're asking, suppose you're asking somebody and you want to be slightly more formal, asking them permission to leave. Is there another way to use another modal auxiliary verb, not can? Can I go now is very informal.
Shall I?
shall I go now is a little different. The word shall is sometimes the same, is sometimes different. We look at shall. Shall is a modal verb which is quite interesting because it's often asking permission. But sometimes it's the same as will. Shall is the same as will sometimes, but not always. So if I say I'll go now, it could be I shall go now or I will go now, no difference. But sometimes shall is different to will. Shall I go? Shall I do that? Is asking, making a suggestion. Shall I do that for you? I could do that for you. Would you mind if I do that? Shall I do it for you? But not will I do that for you. If you say will I do that for you, they will say, well, you should know. You should know your own mind. Why are you asking me? But if you say shall I do that for you, then you're suggesting. So, okay, so we've got suggesting. Suggesting, what other functions are there? Asking. Permission, asking for permission, that's another one. Can you tell me some others, please?
Sí.
Sorry, I missed that.
Sí. Hola.
What's that? I can't hear that. Hola.
Hola. Sí.
Francisco?
Sí.
What? Who's saying that? No, it's not Francisco, is it? Who's saying that?
Joder, macho.
Sandeep, are you speaking?
No, I am not.
Who's saying? I don't know who was saying that. I couldn't see. Okay, so let's get back on topic. So I want, first of all, everybody to brainstorm with me a list out. I want a list of all of the different kind of possible common functions in English. Suggesting is one. Asking for permission is another.
Requesting.
Requesting is another one, yeah. What about this one? What is this one?
Oye, ma,
Would you like to go to the party?
¿qué pasa, hija? Que es que lo he cogido pero no escuchaba nada. Y ahora...
There is a mute button on the microphone, ladies and gentlemen. I normally get somebody muting me when I'm just teaching English, but never mind. So, okay, so we've got requesting, suggesting. What about this one? Tell me what am I doing now? Would you like to come to the party tonight? Please come to the party tonight with me. What am I doing? There's one word. I'm not asking, but there's a special way, a special kind of asking here. So
inviting.
Inviting is the function I wanted to, the word I wanted that describes the function of what I'm doing. Yes, the function is the kind of what I'm actually doing. So, like I said, a washing machine has a function. The function of the washing machine is to wash my clothes. The function of the lawnmower is to cut the grass. So a function is just what it does. Okay, so when we look at these functions, we find that some of them are quite polite and some of them are maybe too polite for certain situations. So I think maybe you need to choose one or two that sound good. So let's read some. We've got introductions here. Just two examples. Could I introduce you to a colleague of mine? And I'd like to introduce you to a colleague of mine. If you're introducing somebody, you know, there are different ways of doing it. Can anyone think of another way? Another way of introducing people?
May I introduce you to a colleague of mine?
May I? Yeah, that sounds quite polite, yeah. May I introduce you to a colleague of mine? Jack, here's John. Yes, that sounds good. So sometimes we have so many different possibilities. So I'm going to move down to one of the more common functions now. So introductions, finishing a talk, offering encouragement. I'm going to move down to agreeing. Whoops, what happened there? That didn't seem to jump very well. Don't know why. Let's go down to it then. Ways of agreeing in English. So we've got just basic ones like yes, true, I agree.
Sure.
So let's have a look down these and see if we can add some more. So we've got, let me ask somebody else to do a little bit of reading down here for me. So Carlos, could you just read down, and if you come to any which are a bit strange, then make some comments or ask about them. And also, if you tell me if you can add any more to the list.
Sure. Sure is probably one more.
Sure. Yeah. Sure is one which a lot of people use all the time. So that should be added onto the list. So let me just get it so that they will fit on the page, and let's see if we can add some more to the list. So any more functions that fit on this list?
Of course.
Yeah. So agree. We've got sure and of course. Of course is missing. Yeah.
Yes, of course it's missing.
Maybe another one or two. Let's give it a minute, and if not,
Exactly. I know. No, go on. I know exactly. Oh no, it's a 12.
Well,
Okay. Sorry.
well, just exactly on its own is
Yes, just exactly.
is fine. Exactly. Yeah, that's a very good one on its own. I'm of the same opinion. I'm of exactly the same opinion. Yeah, I like that one word. Exactly. That should go to, and sure, those should go to the top, being very short. And that shows real natural English. Sometimes words have no meaning on their own, but they have a lot of meaning in relation to the conversation. Sometimes a whole sentence is totally without meaning, but in a conversation it has meaning. Okay, so shall we move on, or are there any more now? True, yes, exactly, sure.
You're right.
You're right. You're right. That's good as well.
Yeah, okay.
Even okay, and even just right. You know, sometimes you have to be careful with these short answers, and they kind of work, but they can get irritating sometimes if you do it too much. But sometimes they're good and they're the right thing to do. I advise people to be careful, though, that sometimes, for example, right. For one, I don't like using it too much as a kind of tag, question tag at the end, like you're John, right? Or you're John, yeah? It sounds a little bit a step or two down in English, and so I would use that sparingly, just occasionally. Some phrases and some English can get annoying, and if you do it too much. Another one that I think is annoying to do too much is the statement question. You're John? You know, this kind of statement question. You can do it just occasionally when you are a bit surprised or taken by surprise. So let's go to disagreeing then. And let's see if we can add some more. I've got to make it even smaller to fit on there. Whoops, sorry. It jumps when I do that. Disagreeing. We've got, starting with no.
I don't agree with you.
I don't agree with you. Yes, so you just used the basically the words, didn't you? So disagree. I don't agree. Just state the facts. Yeah. Now, some of these are quite interesting structures which you may not naturally use. Like, for example, can I just pick you up on that for a moment? A point you made earlier. It's a kind of warning that you are actually just about to disagree with somebody. Another one, which I might add to this list, is one that I've heard sometimes, is with respect. You know, if somebody says with respect, what's coming next?
In my opinion, I don't agree with respect. To be honest, I don't agree. I don't according with it.
Yeah, it's a bit like frankly. If somebody says the word frankly, they're warning you probably that they're just about to disagree with you. So frankly might go down on the disagree list as well, because as just a kind of lead-in, you'd say something like, frankly, I don't agree with that at all. And so, can I just pick you up on a point you made earlier? This is a polite way of saying, well, I don't really agree with something there. I have another angle on it. So is 8. I understand where you're coming from, but have you considered? So there are kind of indirect ways to do it, and you have to think about the situation a bit. So let's try inviting now. Let's try and ask somebody here to read the inviting ones. Maybe Francisco, can you try and read some of them for me? Let's read number 1. Like I
should very much like you to have dinner with me.
Yeah, and what do you think of it? Does it sound like it's a little bit over the top, or does it sound natural enough for you?
For me, it's not very natural. It's
too polite.
It's very polite, I think.
Yeah. So it's sometimes this is a problem. Sometimes you have to use the right language for the right situation, and it works both ways actually, because English is a language like many languages with lots of different levels of formality. You know, when you start learning English, you think that there's slang, bang, up that end, and formal, everything else. But it's really not that simple. There's a lot of leveling in formality, and so you have to get some kind of idea about it. And there are some structures which are really not good for using just in informal situations, because they're too polite, too indirect. Generally, polite structures have a lot more words because they're indirect. Like, would you mind? Or something like this. And the more direct structures can be less formal and less polite, but sometimes quite neutral. So that one you think is a little bit too polite, maybe too formal. What about the next one? Can you read on a bit, please?
Would you like to have dinner with me?
Is that better for you, or still a little bit?
Yeah, it's more informal. It's more natural for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this one is somewhere in the middle, and it's quite reasonable to use this. It's not particularly formal or informal. So it has, would you like to have dinner with me? It's just a natural way of suggesting something. So, and now read number 3 and tell me what you think of that one.
May I invite you to have dinner with me?
That sounds really strange for me. I don't think I would ever say that. What do you think it sounds like?
It's another way to invite to want people to have dinner with you. I think it's a good way. Yeah.
I prefer, in terms of natural English, I prefer number 2.
I prefer number 2.
Yeah, I don't like number 3. It sounds a little bit creepy if you say may too much. You know, may is a good word sometimes in the right situation, but here it really sounds a little bit too much icing on the cake. So I think maybe even just changing that word may would fix it all. Can I invite you to have dinner with us tonight? With me is better. Can is a useful word sometimes for dropping the formality level and just a very useful modal verb, just to be kind of informal. So let's move on to Gipe. Can you read some for me? Maria, is that your phone?
Yep.
No?
Hello.
Was that your phone, Maria?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I suppose you never know when it's going off, do you? But that's fine. So, Faye, can you read the next 2 or 3 for me and make some comments about what you think about the level of formality?
Number 4, I'd like to invite you to have dinner with me. I think it's polite, but it's very close to the second one.
Yeah, do you feel that there's something slightly too polite about it, maybe?
No, I think
yeah,
we
it's
could
interesting,
really
isn't
say.
it? No, I might say I'd like you to come, but I'd like to invite you. It's not too bad. I think number 3 is too sweet sometimes, but may I invite you to have dinner with me? What do you think about number 3?
Number 3 sounds like a business dinner, or the boss. You want to invite your boss, maybe the big boss. It's really a bit too polite or too formal, in my opinion.
I would say like that as well, because I feel with the word may is kind of asking permission. So you're almost begging the permission to ask them, to permission to even invite them. So it really is a strange situation, and I don't think most of us would be in that situation. Something like you said, you are not even sure if you should invite the boss. So you're asking permission before you even invite them. So that one is, this is the kind of knowledge which you have to have, and you have to build, and then you have to choose some nice functional phrases for yourself. So can you read the next one, Heathway, that we haven't read yet?
Yes. Shall we have dinner together? That's what I would say maybe to you.
It's very
to
informal.
A friend.
It's nice, yeah. I think that's a
Yes.
good one. Shall, and that shows, does that show the different meaning of shall and will? Are the 2 words interchangeable?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
I mean, can we actually change it shall to will in this sentence?
When we say shall, it's a suggestion more. When we say will, it's a real question.
Yeah, that's right. So
You doubt when you say will, you have some doubts about it. If the other really wants to come, or if you really want it, it's more.
Yeah, and for me, there's a difference between shall we have dinner tonight and should we have dinner tonight. So what do you think is the difference between shall we have dinner tonight and should we have dinner tonight?
Shall is a really invitation for dinner, and it's really a suggestion to have dinner together. They should. Then you think, maybe we should drop dinner tonight. We had a huge lunch, so it's more asking if it even should take place at the dinner.
Yeah, so there is a difference, and using.
Or you think it's not a good idea when you say should. You think it's not a good idea to have dinner together.
Yeah, maybe.
Could we really do it?
Might object. Somebody else might object to the whole idea. So should we have dinner tonight? Maybe we're sneaking off to have dinner. Yes. So shall we have dinner is just a clear invitation.
Yes. Should is shows that you have some doubts if it is really a good idea to do it.
Now, from 1 to 6, which one would you say was the most informal?
Number 6, that's the most informal, I would say. But I wouldn't mind when somebody said to me, "What about dinner?" But that's the most informal one.
Most informal, yeah. And there is another very informal word for this, which came up in a text in another lesson, and it's got a word which begins with F, the F word. It has 2 meanings, and it could be "would you like" is one meaning, and another meaning is something very elaborate. Do you know the word? Does anybody know the word? It's a kind of F word, just goes before something, and it could mean "would you like this?"
I think
But it
it's
also
about
means, you think about the sheep and the talking dogs and the talking animals. And there was a word a few weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, I think we did it. And okay, the word is beginning with F and A. Yes. Does anyone know the word? I'm just seeing if anybody else was in that class. But fancy a drink. Fancy dinner. Fancy dinner tonight. Fancy. That's very informal. Yes. Right. So let's move along and ask somebody to read the next ones and tell me what they think about the level of formality. Mohammed, are you there? Maria, how about you?
What number?
Well, we've done the first 6, so let's read on some more. So 7, 8, 9. Just read those through, starting with 7, and tell me what you think about their level of formality.
Do you fancy having dinner with me? That is very informal.
Yes, because the word fancy is always informal.
Yeah. And want to have dinner with me? Is informal too.
Yes.
And would you care to have dinner with me? That don't sound very natural for me. Would you care to have dinner with me? It's more formal, maybe.
Maybe more formal, yes. I don't use that expression either, but there are so many functions that I think when we learn functional English, the way to do it that I recommend is to understand a lot, but pick out just 2 or 3 that you actually use. All around the world, that's the way we do it. Everybody has their own way of saying things. They'll say, we say this, we say that. We all have our own way of saying things, but there are so many other ways that we need to understand.
Yeah.
So we need to know if somebody comes up to us and speaks in a particular way and they say, would you care to have dinner tonight? You have to know what they mean. And so that's a little bit more formal. So what about number 10?
I'd like nothing better than to have dinner with you. It's really informal.
Yeah, I think this is. It is
between friends.
It could be informal, but it's yeah. I'd like nothing better than to have dinner with you. Okay, yeah. I'm not sure I would use that one either. Next one, then. What do we think?
I would be very pleased if you would have dinner with me. It's for.
Yeah, you know, sometimes I thinking about formality levels, then sometimes we have to think about language that can be described as more neutral. Some language is not really formal or informal. So the picture of formality is something like this. We have lots and lots of levels. So we have not just formal, informal. We have like a mountain, lots of different levels. But sometimes some of the language is everywhere in the middle. So they're quite neutral and in the middle. So we don't have to say this is formal, that's informal. We can say this could be used in many situations, for example. So sometimes words and phrases are definitely formal. Sometimes they're definitely informal. For example, do you fancy dinner? Fancy dinner with me? That's not formal. That's kind of relaxed, informal language. But we just need to think that formality is with lots of levels, but also there's a big middle area as well sometimes, just general language. So let me ask, can you just read the next one? Can you read the next one for me? So the last one was number 9, was it? No, number 10 was the last one. Read 11 as well.
I would be very pleased if you would have dinner with me.
Yeah, very well pronounced. I would be very pleased if you would have dinner with me. So you have to, with formal language, you have to be a little bit careful not to be too kind of pathetic and apologetic, you know, like a kind of butler doffing his hat at the Lord's. You can't speak like that to people because they will think that you're very timid and too timid and too polite sometimes.
But
So
I like very much this structure. I think it's the best of all.
number 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it could work in certain situations.
It's like to you say it's a pleasure for me if you would have dinner with me. I would be very pleased if you would have dinner with me. I think.
Yeah, I might. This form, I might say something like you just said. It would be my pleasure if we could have dinner tonight, or something like that. It would be my pleasure. That's a common structure. Nicely, yes, I agree with you. Yes. So let's go back. Let's continue with you then, Francisco, and see if you can just.
Number 12.
Yeah, go down.
Would you be interested in something? Would you be interested in something? It's like informal.
Would you use it?
It's an informal structure. Or would you be interested in something if you are talking with your friend?
Yeah. Do you think that there would be any chance that you would actually say those words? Would you be interested in lunch tonight? Would you with me?
Yeah. Would you be interested in playing football this afternoon, this evening?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I used that one or not, but it doesn't sound too unnatural. And number 13, can you read it for me?
Here's my car. Please give me a call if you want more information.
And who would you say this to?
Well, it's if you want more information about something, some reference, some elements. You give your car to one possible customer or one client to sell something to. It's a professional invitation, don't you think?
Yeah, and is it natural for you?
But it's a mixture between formal and informal. It's yeah.
Yeah, it's because please give me a call if you want more information. This is typical kind of business language.
I think it's more polite that please if you are interested in this information, don't hesitate to call me.
Can you say that in a more informal way?
More informal way.
Maybe you know, one thing you can do to make things informal is to use phrasal verbs. That's just one way. But is there any way at all that you could change 13, the second part of it, into informal language?
Okay. Call me if you want to know more.
Call me if you want to know more. It's just shorten it a bit. And what about, is it possible to do it with a phrasal verb?
Phrasal verb.
Maybe if you want somebody to contact you or call you, is there any kind of phrasal verb you could use there?
Yeah, sure, but I don't remember now.
Something like, who can suggest any? Phrasal verbs meaning just contact me, give me a call. That's using call as a noun, but what about drop me a line? Drop me a line? Or ring me up? Or
round me up. Yeah, round me up.
Yes, call me isn't a phrasal verb, is it? But drop me a line, ring me up.
If you are interested.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see what we're going to do next. What I'd like to do is go down to one particular one and see. Yeah, there's one that I wanted to look at, which was advising. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. Can't find it right now. Let's have a look at this one then. Permission, yes. Now, this is a kind of function which it's a good idea to have some up your sleeve have one or two up your sleeve. Do you know this expression, having something up your sleeve? It means something ready to pull out, like a little trick. Like if you're cheating at cards, you might have some aces up your sleeve.
Can you write in? Can you write in?
Yes. I've got something up my sleeve. This is what you do with vocabulary. So when you have something up your sleeve, it means you've got something, you're armed with your vocabulary. It's ready to use. So it's ready to go. And if you say that you've got something up your sleeve, it's this kind of meaning and ready to use when you need it. It's a little bit like cheating, because you know when you play cards, if you have something up your sleeve, you're probably cheating. So we do cheat, because we cheat like this. We learn some structures, some interesting structures. For example, I learnt one for suggesting, or if I were you, if I were you. Who can make a suggestion with if I were you? If I were you, I wouldn't do it. Or, if I were you, I would go on a diet. You see, that structure is quite handy, and it's like a kind of cheat up my sleeve, ready to use any time. It's in the back of my mind, and it pops out. So, with functional English, it's a good idea, I've noticed, to do this, because there are some structures which might not come to mind. If you suddenly think, I want to make a suggestion, and you have to think about it, then it can be very difficult. So it's best to be armed with one informal one and one formal one. So if I were you, I'd go on a diet. How could we very politely suggest something? Maybe we can't if it's a diet. So let's change it to a training course. If I were you, I'd go on a training course. Now let's try and see if we can change it two ways. This is fairly neutral, it's just chatting to my friend. If I were you, I'd go on a training course. It's a great idea. So two ways to change it. It could be a lot more formal and polite with a kind of back out clause or something, or it could be very, maybe informal. Can I have some other alternatives? The same meaning. If I were you, I'd go on a training course. You should go on a training course. Now, Hitve, can you tell me anything, any different feeling there about, the meaning is similar, but I feel something is different. Can you see any difference or tell me anything about the differences there?
Yes, my sentence shows a bit that you think maybe the other person is a bit silly or dumb, and it's really needed to go on a training course.
Yeah, or maybe you're
other one more saying, I think it might be a good idea to get a little bit more knowledge or training.
Yeah, the second one is a bit more intrusive or authoritative. It's the kind of thing you would say to a child or something like that. So you see, it's not just formality. Formality is a way of showing your ranking as well. You know, if you don't want to show that you're in authority, so how would you suggest to your boss, for example? You probably then will need to dig out one of these polite forms.
Yes.
So if you know your boss very well, maybe it's enough to say, if I were you, I'd go on a training course. But if you felt that you were pushing him a little bit and being a little bit rude, even suggesting it, how do you suggest to the Prime Minister, for example? You're around a table and there's somebody there who could even ask you to leave. How do you make a suggestion to them? You have to be a bit polite, but not too creepy crawly. So let's see how many ways we can do this. If I were you, I'd go on a training course. So your boss doesn't know enough about what he needs to know, and you have to explain it to him. How could you say it?
It's a good idea.
This is where you need to be good with words, because if you say the wrong thing, I can tell you that it is important. How many times have we seen people who don't know English very well say, I want to learn English, I want you to teach me? It's not good. You have to learn this, because you have to use these modal verbs and these forms in English. So maybe could you and would you and these kind of words. So let's see some possibilities there.
How about I think it might be a good idea?
That was just the school. I paid £10 and they gave me change back, and they shouldn't have done, and they've got to bring it in. Okay, so what have we got here? It's a good idea to have a training course. Yeah, that's getting there, I think. I think it might be a good idea. I like that one. I like that one very much, because let me tell you something. Like I called it just now the back out clause. That's just a phrase which kind of jumped into my mind. I'll write it for you. Back out clause.
Okay.
What does that mean? Who knows what I'm getting at here? A back out clause.
Of course. A requirement. Account clause.
Yeah.
Point of a contract.
Some kind of way of escape. You need to, when you speak politely, it's very polite to give people options.
Yeah, yeah. It's very, very British.
So
very polite.
If you really think, bosses even do it. So bosses might say, I'd like you to just continue with that project work until 6 p.m. tonight. That would be great. It means do it. But if you suggest something to your boss, you need to present it as if it's just a kind of thought. Maybe you, of course, you know better, but here's a thought. So Heat Phase is excellent. It does that. I think it might be a good idea if you allocated some time to swat up on this subject, you know, and then he'll say, it allows him to say, well, that would be all very fair and well in an ideal world, but you know, I'm
I don't hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know what happened there. Somebody muted me. So yeah, so you have to give people options when you're polite, options to disagree with you. Even ask them what they think. So what about? So you can actually change your functions. You can start with a question, but you're really suggesting. So what about if you took some time off and attended a training course, and then the boss can say, well, that would be great, but I just don't have time.
Which are the advantage of the training course, of this training course? Why I must do this course?
Yeah, why must I? Yeah, that's right. So that's one of the key points of polite language is giving options, and that's why there are extra words and roundabout indirect phrases, because it gives people an option. So if you want to have private lessons or something, and you say, I want English lessons, it doesn't come across really well. I'm not saying anybody here does that, but that has happened sometimes, and people misunderstand. And it's even people like me who know everybody and know that not everybody understands English very well. The first thing that comes to my mind is that's very direct and a little bit rude and pushy. Pushy. Do you know this word, pushy?
Yes. Very rude, yeah. Very rude.
So we need to, for each function, get ourselves ready with one phrase to use with our friend, our best friend, and one which we can use in a more polite form. So what did we get with I think you should go on a training course. We said, I think it might be a good idea if you go on a training course. That's good for the boss. Yeah, and if you're telling a young child, I think you can just be more direct and say you should go on a training course. Right. Which of these on the screen, everybody can just say, which of these on the screen are natural for you and which are unnatural? Let's hear people saying something about them.
I would most of the time use number 1. Oops.
Yeah, me too. I think so. I would use number 1 a lot. Can I borrow your pen? Can I just? I might even throw in the word just. Can I just borrow your pen a moment? Sometimes when you speak English, you can throw in extra words just as fillers, just to make people feel good. And that is all related to intonation as well. So can I just borrow that pen a moment? And if you really want to be polite, throw at the end, if you don't mind. If you don't mind. So you can dress them how you like. That one, number 1, is very natural for me. Are there any unnatural ones?
I didn't use number 2.
Please
It's really a bit polite. Then number 3, number 1 and 3 are fine for me. It's never wrong to say please, but then I would put it on
at the end. Yeah, me too. Isn't that interesting? Because this word please fits in a few different places, but look at that, it's making a difference, isn't it? Isn't it strange how everything makes a difference? So, please can I borrow your pen? Can I borrow your pen, please? Yeah, quite different, isn't it? So we can see that sometimes we have the same logical meaning with words. So a computer will understand them both the same way. A grammar checker might. Please, can I borrow your pen? Can I borrow your pen, please? No difference.
No, it's better. Do you mind if I borrow your pen?
Yeah, so it's all linked to pronunciation as well. Exactly. So we see it's not just about words, it's about pronunciation as well. Are there any very weird ones here? Are there any strange ones? I think number 10 is a bit too over the top.
Number 10 is crazy structure. I hope you don't mind me asking if I can borrow your pen. It's very polite.
Or yes, or if I would say I'm wondering if I could borrow your pen. That would be over the top.
Yeah, only because it's a pen, though, maybe because
only a pen. It's the objective is a pen. Please.
Yeah, I think it's because of the pen, not the structure of the words. So those words could be used in another situation.
Another situation is I hope you don't mind me asking if I can borrow your car, please.
Yes,
is another situation.
Yeah, Yeah, because
Drive your car.
Yeah, because it would really help me out, and I know it's a problem for you, and I know I wouldn't normally ask, but you know, I'm a bit stuck here, and I can't. I really need your help. I hope you don't mind me asking. Yeah, but not for a pen. Yeah,
not for a pen. It's for another thing.
Yes.
More important thing.
So we see that we need to understand more and more, and then. Jose, I'm just going to click you for a minute. You're okay now. I'll mute you. You can come back. So let me move the page down and see if we've got some more sentences. I think the next one is up a bit. Hold on. Whoa, let's go back up and choose some of these. Opinions. We've got 18 actually. Let's have a look. And there's some informal words there. Can anybody see any informal words in opinions there?
Come on, to be honest. Sure.
I would say this is informal. I reckon this is the way to do it.
Recon.
Yes.
I reckon. Yeah, I reckon so. I reckon so is like an agreement, but it's. I reckon this word "reckon" is very laid back. Informal.
It's like I think.
Yes, it's kind of I recognise. I reckon, but it becomes a word and it's very informal. So that one. If you ask me, yeah, that's kind of neutral-ish, informal. If you ask me, it's not good.
It's not good.
So that's one a way of expressing your opinion. They're not asking you, but if you ask me, I would tell you this. Which are the most formal?
More formal. Personally, I believe this is.
I would never say that in my family chat. Personally, I believe I'd never say that. I'd just say I believe so or I think so. Yeah.
I believe.
But personally is a kind of interjection, really.
Oh, to be honest, this is more informal.
Yeah. Again, the test for me is that I can't see myself ever saying that at home with my family. And there's one that's even more more formal.
Yeah.
Maybe this one, but this is one that we mentioned before. This has a special kind of meaning.
Oh.
Well, whenever I've heard the words, I remember a particular friend in Harrogate actually. I was having a discussion with him, and the words came. Even though he's a friend of mine, he said, "With respect," he said, and I thought, "Oh dear, I'm in for it now." And then I got some kind of lecture about what I was doing. So it means that they're about to actually disagree completely with everything you've just been doing or saying. It's a kind of warning. That's the way I see it. So I wouldn't use it in informal speech, and probably it was used by him on that day to just say, right, I'm going to say something now. I hope you're listening.
And excuse me, Leon. It seems to me that this is something. It's more informal too. No, it seems to me.
Yeah, I got in trouble at university for saying that once because I was in a philosophy lecture and I said this and someone says, "I don't care what it seems to you."
Okay, all right. Okay.
Yeah, so it seems to me is very like as if you haven't really analysed it properly, and it's kind of informal, definitely. Yes. As far as I'm concerned, that reminds me of a malapropism joke, which was, as far as I'm conceived. But as far as I'm concerned, yeah, that's probably a form which you won't see English learners using. But because there are lots of forms which are packed full of extra words, and when we learn a foreign language, we don't learn to speak that way. So, for example, I was packing in some extra words like, would you mind if I just borrow that pen a moment? You know, a just and a moment. Throwing in these extra words, you hear native speakers do them, just to give them a chance to say a few more words, to colour everything a bit more. And so I think this one comes in that category. I don't think there are some structures which you just don't hear English learners use. As far as I'm concerned, well, I can't remember ever hearing anybody say this apart from native speakers. And maybe that applies to some of these others. Are there any other strange ones here? Well, I must say, yeah, you see, this kind of well as a kind of interjection. People who learn English don't say this. They don't say, well, if you must. They don't say this kind of way. Well, I must say, this is really most peculiar. So the thing to do is just kind of get to grips with understanding them when you hear them. So if I say to you, well, I must say this is really most out of order, how do you work that one out? You're listening to what I'm saying, but you don't have to use all of those words. But you need to get yourself ready and armed with some little expressions like that which you can use. I think if I were you, I would go on a course is a good one for advice. What is the name of that structure? Who knows the name of the structure? If I were you, I would go on a training course. Not heap fake, because I know you know that one. But who else can tell me the answer? What's that structure called? If I were you, I would go on a training course. If I were you, I would go on a training course. There's a name for it. Okay, it's a unreal situation. It's a give one word and then see if anybody gets it. Second conditional, yes. Second conditional, yeah. So, yes, it's very unreal situation, but very natural English actually. So if I were you, I wouldn't do that. It's quite a nice one. I like it because it's quite short and as a phrase, not too difficult to understand. So that's the end. Sorry that a lot of people weren't given too much opportunity to speak today, but let's try again in the next lesson. If you can come to my next one, I'd like to carry on with you. So let's see you there.